Hello and welcome to BPA 2015 Entremet and Petit Gâteau homework assignment explanation. I'm going to walk you through your homework assignment and explain everything that you need to know in order to get it done successfully. So we'll start here at the homework assignment page, and basically what's going to happen is on day 1 or 2 of class you're going to pick a mystery basket ingredient, and then you are going to take that ingredient and design one entremet. You get to choose from 3 different options. You have neoclassic, seasonal, or entremet glacé. Neoclassic is basically taking an old classic dessert and twisting it and turning it into an entremet. You could take, say, tiramisu and use all the flavors and the textures of tiramisu but in entremet form, or Twinkie, or s'mores, or any classic dessert that most people know about. A seasonal entremet is just that, using seasonal ingredients and creating a nice flavor profile that matches the season we are in right now. Entremet glacé is basically another way of saying ice cream cake. So it is a frozen dessert that needs to be served at frozen temperatures. So anything that you use in this entremet needs to be able to be served frozen. So ice cream, sorbets, parfaits, frozen yogurt, things like that. So that one's a little more tricky, but it is fun if you are getting into the scheme of things. So your entremet must contain at the very least a crunchy layer or a cake layer, a glaze or a chocolate spray, an insert which could be cream or gel based, mousse, or if you're choosing entremet glacé, an ice cream or a sorbet as the main component, and then a chocolate or sugar garnish. Anything else besides those 5 things is kind of up to you and depends on your theme and what you're working towards. So there's a couple guidelines that you need to work towards. Part 1, which is due on day 4, before 11:59 p.m. submitted via uLearn, is to include a paragraph description of your entremet, basically telling me why you chose the flavors that go along with your mystery ingredient, what is the theme if you have one, what season is it for, what classic cake does it represent, what classic dessert does it represent. Just give me an idea of why you chose the flavors you chose. In addition, you need to describe a bit about the interior components and, make me want to eat it. Describe it well, describe it as if you were trying to sell it. The other parts of this is a computerized top view drawing of the entremet with appropriate labeling and in color, a computerized side view drawing, and as well a computerized cross section of the entremet with appropriate labeling and in color. These 3 different drawings are relatively easy to achieve in a Word document, and at the very end of this lecture you'll see a demonstration on how to do that in Word. So hold your questions until then. That's the first part. That's going to give you a basic idea of what you need to do for the second part of your homework assignment. So once you have your cross section, your top and your side view done, and your description, the rest should come pretty naturally. The next part, which is due by day 7 at 11:59, submitted via uLearn, is a section for formulas of all of the components of your entremet, including garnishes, with complete method of prep and yields. I'm asking you to build yields for approximately 2 8-inch entremets. They need to be by weight. Don't tell me that your insert formula yields 2 inserts. That doesn't help me. It needs to tell me how many ounces or how many grams or how many pounds of product you're making. Use pounds, ounces, and grams only. Try not to use any cups or teaspoons. Those are unprofessional. They don't really work in entremets. The recipes must be typed by you. Please use at least 3 from beyond your Johnson & Wales formulas book. Out of those 3, please try to only get 1 from the internet. I don't believe the internet is a great source. Cooks.com, allrecipes.com, Epicurious. I don't really think they're very professional sources. If you use an internet source, make sure you're using it like a good one. Food Network or, Gourmet Magazine or Pre-Gel or Cocoberry, something where it's a really good professional source. I have about 6 or 7 beautiful books in the classroom that you are able to use for your sources, for inspiration or to get a recipe from or whatever. You have your Johnson & Wales formulas book, which you can use a little bit. You have the magazines and the books that are at the library, and you also have all of the formulas that you've used in your past classes that you could utilize as well, or maybe your past jobs. In addition, I also have 2,000 plus formulas of my own that I'm more than willing to share with you. So if you run into a roadblock, you can't find something you're looking for, ask me. I might be able to help. So the section on formulas, very important, a lot of point value. Make sure that you do it very well and very thorough. And then from there, we need a method of assembly for your entremet. So how is it put together? What are the steps? What components and tools do you need? So in your production packets that you'll get on day 1 of class, you'll see that I have lists of mise en place, components and tools. Then during your demos that you watch, you'll be taking all of these notes about how thick the cake should be, when it goes in, how do you prep the ring, all of those different things. So your method of assembly should be very detailed. It should have in thicknesses of mousse layers, cake layers, instructions on how to prepare the ring, how to level mousses, apply jacquard, glazes, unmolding, details about how to garnish, everything. Make sure you're not just telling me what to do, but how to do it. After the method of assembly, you're going to have a works cited page, and that's going to be where you credit all of your outside sources, such as the formulas book or the internet if you used it for a formula or two, my ULearn folder because you're going to be using that for information, the internet, Pinterest, or Instagram if you got some inspiration from there in terms of photographs and such. All of these need to be in MLA format. You'd obviously know that easybib.com is a great place to go to help you with that. In addition to the books that I mentioned earlier, I also have a completed homework assignment for you guys to look at that is very well done by a former student, and you can use that as sort of a guideline as to what you know that I'm looking for in order to do a great job. On day 8 at 11:59 p.m. submitted via ULearn, you are to submit a conclusion, not to the homework assignment, but to the class overall. I want to hear some thoughts about it. What was it what you expected? How could it be better? What did you feel was good or bad? What did you learn? Just give me a little bit of feedback, constructive criticism. I do tend to use those to improve my teaching and the class overall. So be honest, be professional, and tell me what you think. All right, so as it says down here at the very bottom of your homework assignment page is that there's lots of different things to look at in order to help you achieve this homework assignment. So we're going to head on over to ULearn, and we're going to take a look at all of these different items I have up there for you to help you out. So going on over to ULearn. So this is my ULearn. It looks a little different than yours, but the idea is basically the same. So once you're in, you go on over to the homework assignments tab. Loading. And there's a bunch of different things in here, some of which pertain to your homework project and some of which do not. So right here you have the extra credit that we'll talk about on day 1. Then there's the actual assignment that we were just looking at, the lecture, the one I'm doing right now. And then down here at the bottom you have homework help tools and a submission folder. So let me go through the submission folder first and just make sure you understand about how to submit this work, and then we'll go back for the help. So if you click on the submissions, you have part 1, part 2, and then down the bottom the conclusion, which is part 3. So each part needs to be submitted separately. I would suggest one document for part 1, one document that's separate for part 2, and then one document separately for part 3. All of these need to be submitted in PDF format. This is the only way that I am going to be assured that what you had on your computer screen matches what I am looking at on mine. If you submit something in Pages, I won't be able to read it. I don't have a Mac. If you submit something in Word doc, it might come across perfectly, but it might get all shifted and jumbled up, and then maybe your labels for your drawings don't point to the appropriate thing, and then I'm going to have to dock you points. So make sure you're in PDF format. If you do not know how to save something in PDF, ask me. I'll show you. All 3 sections should be in PDF. That would be the easiest thing for you. And again, just keep them separate so I don't have to do a lot of scrolling when I'm trying to grade these online. Obviously, in order to submit, you would click on the title, and that will bring you through, and then you get to browse your computer, attach your document, and then press submit down at the bottom, which I can't do because I'm not submitting anything right now. So that's the submissions folder. So let's go back and we'll go through the tools that can help you achieve a perfect homework. So in here I have, the first thing I have is Entremet Glacé. This is a document that tells you everything you need to know, basically, about entremet glacés. It's just a little bit of extra information because we don't go very detailed with entremet glacé in this class since it's an entremet introductory course. So this will help you if you decide to go that route to kind of like navigate that process. So here's the document on entremet glacé. It just kind of gives you a little bit of background information, gives you some ideas for cake components, some ideas for filling, so those are kind of as inserts or as the main sort of mousse component, but not a mousse. There's different crunches that can be used, and some different glazes that may be appropriate. And then I have a couple formulas here as well to kind of help you along. They all came from Pre-Gel, which is actually a company that deals a lot with gelatos and a lot with flavoring components. So they have a lot of good ideas and good products there, so you might think about visiting their website if you want to get inspired. So that's the entremet glacé document. The next part is the example of a top view. So here we have a top view of my, little example that I made is an apple pie entremet. So we have a big circle, because a top view is literally just what you see from the top down. So you have just a circle, which is the top. I have a little red chocolate loop here depicted because I'm looking at it from the top view. I have a green marbleized glaze, similar to the carrot cake entremet that we're going to be making, but not green, and a blown sugar apple. Alright, and you're not going to see anything that you would put on the sides most of the time. Sometimes you'll see it depending on what it is, so if you have questions about that, just ask. But generally, this is it. This is the top view. I don't want you to let your skill set limit you with this project. Unfortunately, with the time that we have in this class, we can't make these. I cannot get all of the ingredients for all of your ideas by day 7. Because you're not going to tell me about them until day 7. So this is all conceptual. So don't let your skill set limit you. I don't think I'm the best sugar blower in the world, but I can certainly tell you the steps on how to do it in my project. So, if you want to put a sugar rose on there, go for it, even if you're not necessarily sure you could achieve it in real life. Might as well go big or go home. The third thing in this list is a side view. So let's take a look at that. And here we have a side view. So I decided for my apple pie entremet I was going to do a 3D apple stencil jacquard. Now there are such molds out there that give you a 3D design on jacquard. We don't have them in class, but I just thought it would be fun. So that's my little depiction of the 3D apple jacquard. Then I have a little bit of the mousse showing because when you use jacquard you generally have a small amount of mousse showing. And then I have my green marbleized glaze. Notice that I did not put my garnish visible on this side view. I have it on my cross section, so I need not put it on the side view. Put it in one or the other. It doesn't matter which one, but not both. Alright, so that's a side view. Next we have, well, you know what, I'll skip down to the cross section. Let's look at the cross section. So I admittedly got a little carried away with my cross section, so don't feel overwhelmed with the amount of components I have in my entremet. I just got excited. So you don't need to have this many, but follow along, because you could. So right here for my apple pie entremet I have a cinnamon sablé disc on the bottom, and then I have an apple compote jelly right on top of the disc. Then my first mousse, because I decided to do 2, was a cinnamon Bavarian. I have the jacquard, which is a sponge cake that's wrapped around the inside of a ring mold. So you don't really see it when you cut the entremet in half. You would just see a small strip. So that's there. And then the cinnamon Bavarian goes about halfway up. From there, I have another insert that has a crispy almond nougatine on the very bottom, and then a vanilla creamy, sort of to represent the vanilla ice cream that goes on top of my apple pie, in there as an insert. And then the next layer of mousse is a green apple mousse, and that I just thought, perfect fresh green apple flavoring. So that all goes up to the very top of the ring, and then I have that clear green marble glaze. And then of course here's my garnish, my white and red chocolate loop with my blown sugar apple in the center. Notice the placement of my garnish. It's not centered. It's a little to the left or a little to the right. That's usually what you want to do. Try not to center things. Entremets are generally not very symmetrical. So, that being said about symmetry, when you're building your cross-section, I really want you to pay attention to proportions here. Don't make the cake so thick. It's not really supposed to be that thick. Make sure that if you have a rectangle here, that the spacing between there and there is the same on one side as it is the other. Do your best to center it and make it neat and clean. All right, so that's a little bit more complicated cross-section. If you look in ULearn, you'll also see cross-sections of all of our entremets that we're going to be building in class, and those are maybe a little bit simpler, and you can look at those as well for your to sort of help you along with your homework assignment. Okay, so we've looked at all the drawings, and as I said before, we'll have a little demonstration at the very end of this video on how to do those in Word document. But let's just move on to this seasonality of ingredients chart that I have. So this chart is going to give you great flavor combinations. So if you get your mystery basket ingredient and you have no idea what goes well with it, take a peek at this list. You may find something. It might not be here. You may have to do a little Googling. That's okay. When you are working with your ingredient, I want you to know what it tastes like. So do a little research, maybe go out and buy it if you want to. Figure out what it goes well with, figure out what it tastes like, what the textures are, and how it would be best used in your product. And then at the very bottom, we have a little link to a seasonality chart for, what is in season when. So you might be able to get a little help then deciding on what other fruits you can use or what other vegetables you might be able to use along with your mystery basket ingredient. So that was the seasonal ingredients chart. The last thing here is inspirational photos. I'm not going to open this. You guys can go ahead and take a look at your leisure. There's just some photos of entremets. Some I've done, some I just had the photos of from the web or from places I've been or whatever. So that can help you to kind of, get inspired. In addition, if you look over here on the left, I also have my Pinterest account up, and I have a lot of entremets, petit gâteaux, verrines, and all sorts of pastry related items on my Pinterest that you can look at as well to kind of help you decide what you want your entremet to look like and what you can do with all of this different stuff. So I think that pretty much covers it. Again, we're going to kind of glaze over the homework assignment on day 1 or 2 in class. I'll ask you guys if you have questions, but all of the information is here. When you are working with your mystery basket ingredient, the easiest thing for you to do is to start to think about a cross-section. What flavors do you want to use and where do you want them as in the entremet? Once you can do that, the rest will kind of flow easily. I am here to help you. I want to help you. Come talk to me about your flavor ideas. Come talk to me about textures and components and what would go well where and how. That's the best part for me, is to work with you on these. So please come talk to me before class, after class, during class if we have some downtime. I would really like to get involved with your homework assignment to help you make it the best it can be. So now we're just going to move right on over to a Word document, and I will show you how to do the drawings. So here you have a blank Word document, and the first thing you're going to do is go to Insert and go to Shapes. I start with a rectangle. I think that's the easiest thing, and I'll work on a cross section. So you have a rectangle, you draw a rectangle. Alright, I've heard that if you have a Mac that this process is just as simple, if not a little easier depending on the program you have. For some reason all of my rectangles always turn blue to start, and I really don't know why. But there's an easy way to fix that. First you're going to go to Shape Fill, and just go to either white or no fill. That works. And then you go to shape outline, and I'm going to change it to black, and I'm also going to change the weight of the line. I think it's too thick. So I'm going to go down to the very, very, very skinniest one at 1/4 of a point. Alright, and from there, I'm going to start building my cross section. Now the easiest thing, since I had to change from blue to white and all that, is to start copying and pasting my rectangle. So I'm going to go to copy, and then paste. And here I have another rectangle that I can then change the size of. So I'm going to cut it down to about that thick. And that is going to be my bottom cake layer, or what have you. Trying to make this as proportionate as possible and as even as possible, so centering your layers, making sure they're approximately the right thickness is great. So from here I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste this again. And I'm going to move it up, make it a little bit smaller, because inserts are always a little bit smaller to create good structure and mousse around the outside. And there's my insert. Now what else do I want? Alright, I'm going to copy this again and paste it one more time. I'll move it up. I'm going to lengthen it. Make it a lot thinner. And I'm going to place this here. And that's going to be my glaze. So, this is a very basic entremet. If I wanted to add jacquard, I could copy and paste this again. And make this really skinny and tall. Oops, I said skinny. And put it here. Now, jacquard usually comes about 2/3 up the side of your entremet. So make sure you depict that in your cross section if you so choose to use jacquard. I don't want to see it all the way down here somewhere because it doesn't really make sense. And you will always have a little bit of mousse showing on the side before your glaze. You cannot use jacquard all the way up the side of the ring because then the glaze doesn't really cover it well and just doesn't really look that nice. So it's generally used about 2/3 up the side. So there I have my basic cross section. I can also go into insert shapes and add some, I don't know, let's call these blueberries. Just add a couple blueberries here, and hey, they're already blue. How convenient. And you can copy and just paste, and you can paste a bunch of them and, you know, add blueberries. Now, as you go through this course, you're going to learn the proper placement of fruit and how inserts should be in the middle, and fruit should never touch the center, and there's going to be lots of things that I'll be talking about. So as I talk about these things, it would be great if you guys could kind of use them when you are drawing your entremets to make sure that you're kind of following the guidelines. Entremets are great because there's not that many rules, but there are a few that make structure important. So make sure that you kind of grasp that concept. So, okay, I have some blueberries, whatever. Alright, now, to color this, since you don't have to print anything, you can use nice colors. It's easy. You just click on each box and go to Format. And then you can go to Shape Fill, and you can choose a color for your cake. I'm doing, my entremet is going to be blueberry, so I'm going to use a yellow cake. I mean, I'm not worried if the colors are a little bright, that's fine. It's just a depiction of your entremet. It doesn't have to be exact. And then I'm going to also do an insert here of, I don't know, blueberry mousse or something. It'll be lemon blueberry. This is going to be my entremet. So for the jacquard, because lots of times jacquard has patterns, you can actually fill with a pattern instead. Sometimes if you go to shape fill, it's going to be right under texture and you'll see pattern. Sometimes it won't. Sometimes you just have to right click on the option on the little part that you're trying to edit, which isn't working for me right now. There we go. And go to Format Shape. And that will bring you to Pattern Fill. And then you can choose all sorts of different patterns, whatever you decide. And I'll do this one. So then you can also use patterns as part of your drawing. And then for the background, if you want to leave it white, like say I was using like a white flavored mousse, then I would, like vanilla or, you know, coconut or something, then I could just leave it white. Otherwise, I could just fill it with whatever color makes sense. I don't know, green, blue, purple, what do you think? Sure, purple, why not? For some reason, this guy filled as well. Sometimes what happens is, as you're drawing this, your rectangles moved behind, and you really want them forward, such as this one right here, as well as this one. Both of them are actually behind main rectangles. So in order to get them forward again, you're going to right-click on them, and you're going to go to Bring to Front. And sometimes you have to choose Bring to Front, sometimes you have to choose Bring Forward. It really just depends. Sometimes you even have to choose Bring in front of text. Just try them all, whatever works. Alright, let me see if I can figure it out a different way. Alright, so right now this blueberry, say you wanted it behind. If you right-click, Send to Back, there it goes. See how it went behind? So you're going to have to fiddle with that and just see if you can make it work. Now if I went like that, it's going to be totally behind, which makes it annoying because then you can't see it. And then once you click on it, it disappears. But if you go back, there it is. And I can change it to coming to the front again. And see, now it's back in front. So you can use those tools to kind of move things where you need them to go. So the easiest thing, I think, is to insert a text box. So go to Insert and Text Box and click on Basic Text Box. I'm going to move it down here. And you can do as many text boxes as you feel you need. And then I'm just going to start typing in different components. So I have vanilla, sponge, blueberries, blueberry, Bavarian, and say Chaconde, and we'll stop with that. And from there, there's two options. You can either take one of these and copy them and then paste it and just bring it down into your text box and say, hey, those are my blueberries. Or you can take your larger piece and just cut it down to smaller and say, hey, that color represents my blueberry Bavarian. Or if you want to use arrows, and sometimes I do a combination of everything, you go to Insert, Shapes, and then go to Arrow, and you can take, say, your vanilla sponge and go, hey, look, there it is. And then you can, of course, change the color on that and the thickness and whatnot, just the way I did with the lines on the outside of my rectangle. So you can go through that whole process. On your cross-section, I expect to see your garnish. I also expect to see it placed approximately where you would place it. I will be looking at how far it is from the edge and whatnot as you go through. And like I said, I'll be explaining a lot more about all of these rules and regulations on days 2, 3, and 4. But just to get you a head start on your homework assignment, this is how it is. Okay, so then, you put a title on the top of your cross-section and, label everything appropriately and you're ready to go. And I do believe that I have explained pretty much everything there is to explain about this homework assignment. Obviously, questions are going to come up, and you're going to want to ask them. I am available, either before class, after class, during class, or via email if you'd like, on off hours, to answer any questions. And like I said, I'll have books and examples for you to look at in class on day 2, 1, 5, 6, 7, any day. Okay? Alright, good luck with your homework assignments, and make sure to ask lots of questions today in class.